You know, like when you say that Europe is Christian, and that you can't separate Europe from Christianity, and people say to you, oh, that's not true, Europe isn't Christian, we don't even have a culture anymore, blah, 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 whatever. Listen, you might not all go to church like some of us do, but I'll tell you what, you cannot separate your identity from Christianity. It comes into absolutely everything, even the things you wouldn't imagine in your wildest dreams, such as the humble ladybird. So, if you've ever asked yourself why ladybirds are called ladybirds, it's not because they're particularly feminine, although they are quite lovely. It's actually because they are named after Our Lady, the Mother of God. But why? What's the connection? What connection can there possibly be between the Blessed Virgin Mary and ladybirds? Well, you see, once upon a time, Europe, Western Europe, was extremely devout and religious and Catholic. And that Catholicism deeply influenced the way that people saw the world. You know, I often think that the Catholic vision of the world is so beautiful because everything is touched by this presence of God. Absolutely everything. There's just beauty everywhere. The beauty that Catholicism inspires seeps into everything, into music, art, literature, language, even the names of plants. There are so many plants named after Our Lady. So the origin of this naming of ladybirds after Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary, is because in the Middle Ages, most people worked the land. You know, a lot of people were farmers, they were agrarian societies. You know, the care of their crops was a matter of life and death. If they had a bad harvest, then they might not last the winter. And basically, there was a period of time when the farmers were having problems with insects attacking their crops and making the crops die. So the farmers, being good Catholic families, as everyone was back in those days, would pray to Our Lady to ask for her intercession with Jesus for help to get rid of these insects that were destroying their livelihoods. And Our Lady, being the good mother that she is, of course, responded to that prayer. She sent the ladybirds. So these began to appear amongst the crops. The ladybirds devoured the insects. So they were kind of a divine pest control. And people saw this. They saw this as a response to their prayer. And so they began to name these insects ladybirds. And then later on, as the centuries rolled on, people in the United States began to name them ladybugs. But it's not just in England and the British Isles that people started to make this association. Even in places like France and Austria and Germany, people also made this connection between their prayer to Our Lady and these insects appearing among the crops to get rid of the pests. In German, ladybirds are called, excuse my pronunciation, Marienkäfer, 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 which translates as Mary's beetle. People began to associate these insects with good luck. It was believed by the French that ladybirds could help to combat illness, and in England, people thought, and I still believe that many people do think it's bad luck to harm a ladybird. And people even associated the colourings of ladybirds with Our Lady. So the red colouring of the wings of the ladybird was sort of seen as being a reflection or parallel to many depictions of Our Lady where she's wearing a red mantle or a red cloak. So most people associate Our Lady with blue these days, but in some paintings she does appear wearing a red cloak. So that association was made. But also the black spots. I believe there's a variety of ladybird that has 7 black spots. Oh, I've never counted myself. So people began to think of those 7 black spots as reflecting the 7 joys of Our Lady and also the 7 sorrows of Our Lady, as depicted here in this icon with the 7 arrows, or in many paintings it's the 7 swords that enter into the heart of Our Lady. If you don't know about the 7 sorrows tradition, it's beautiful. I could do a video about that. It was a very popular devotion, the 7 sorrows of Our Lady. So obviously these Catholic European farmers made that connection between the 7 black dots and the 7 sorrows of Our Lady. It just goes to show that absolutely everything in European culture, everything is linked back to Christianity, whether you like it or not. The very thoughts that you have, your very ideas about human rights and justice and fairness and equality, and even the way we have named our insects, everything, absolutely everything, goes back to Christianity. So ladybirds are named after Our Lady. If you didn't know, now you know.